So hi everyone, small group. We're making the vegetable dumplings. Um, I feel like I should just go over a few things that probably would be nice to have like nearby, or like you're gonna grab it later. So like something to put all your dumplings on, a plate, a tray, a pan, or like not a pan, but like um, anything large-ish where you can put them all on. That's probably great. And then the most important thing with filling is that it's super dry. So after we cook the vegetables, we'll want to like let it cool and then either squeeze the water out of them, or you can like kind of press them against a mesh strainer to help get all the extra liquid out. So if you want to use a strainer, that's probably nice. I'll probably just be squeezing with my hands. And then I would have a bowl so that you can put all the filling once we cook it on the pan ready. I'm just going to use like just a regular medium-sized bowl. Doesn't have to be too big. And then finally, when we're folding, it might be nice to have like a little bowl with a little bit of water in there just to help seal the dough if the dough is not sticking really well. But with that said, the first thing we'll want to do is do the cooking part so that it has time to cool. And then while it's cooling, I'll like go over a little bit about Chinese New Year, and then we'll go back to finishing up the filling and then wrapping. So Sarah sent out the email with the ingredients to have it all prepped. Is that true? Okay. Oh my God, that's so pretty. All right, so I'm gonna move along. um, oh, all right, so the first thing we'll do is heat the oil in the pan and then put the garlic and onions in, and then let that like kind of saute a little bit until it's translucent. So I'm going to turn on the pan and then okay. So I'm using like a wok, but any type of pan works. And then I'm gonna heat some oil up. Oh.
Hey, Allison, do you know what
Yeah,
oil to use? Or do you have a
just any oil, like canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever oil you have. Just your regular cooking oil. And then I'm gonna put the garlic in and the onions. And just like stir it around for a little bit, let it cook. And so obviously, like I had numbers for like how much of each, but once you guys make this, if you want to make it in the future, if you like strong garlicky flavor, you can always add more garlic. If you don't really love onions, you can use less. So now that it's just a little bit translucent, I'm going to add the mushrooms. And I'm actually going to turn the heat to like a medium heat to add the mushrooms because we want to have all the moisture be cooked out. Again, dry filling's the goal. And And we're just gonna cook the mushrooms until they are tender before we add the rest of the vegetables. At this point, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. However much salt you would like works. But you don't have to add too much because we're going to salt later and season later as well. So it's getting there. My mom's being my camera woman. So now that my mushrooms are pretty tender and a lot of the moisture is coming out, I'm going to add the carrots and the cabbage. So now is when the cooking's going to take the longest because we want to cook these vegetables and then have all the liquids come out of the vegetables and then have all the liquids be cooked up so that we can get most of the liquids out now. So it's just going to be a slow process of waiting for all the liquids to come out. Okay. So I'm gonna actually cover this up just a little bit for a little while to kind of let all the moisture come out. When you cover it up, you can like turn down the heat just a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna check on the vegetables now. So this is like probably what's gonna take the longest, you know, get all the liquids out. Like I said, I feel like I'm just being a broken record a little bit. But yeah. Lisa, is your hand raised for a question? Okay, yeah. Um,
Allison, my question is about removing the liquid. Are we removing it by cooking it off, like evaporation?
So we're gonna do it like kind of twice. So the first time's like cooking it off like here, and then once the filling cools, we're gonna like squeeze it a little bit just to get all the excess liquid out. So just looking at my pan now, it looks like most of the liquid's been cooked off. So I'm going to actually transfer my vegetables out of this bowl. Turn off my heat first. And now we're just gonna leave it to the side to rest for a little bit. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about Chinese New Year. Okay. Let me pull up my slides. Okay. All right. So here are my slides. Today is the first day of Chinese New Year, and Chinese New Year follows the lunar calendar. Every year it is a different animal, and it follows the 12 zodiac animal signs. So this year is the year of the tiger. So Chinese New Year can also be known as the Spring Festival in some areas around China. And that's just because for a lot of parts of China, Chinese New Year marks the end of winter and the start of spring. So it's like a new year, new desire for life, new goals, and the start of life because of spring. So here's a calendar of this year. Chinese New Year follows the lunar calendar. So the first is today, and it's the first day of Chinese New Year. Last night was Chinese New Year's Eve. Chinese New Year is a celebration that lasts for 15 days. So this is like their version of winter break. School's off, people go home to visit their family, their extended family generally. So transportation around this time is super crowded. And during those 15 days, a lot of people go back to their hometowns. They see the relatives they haven't seen in a long time. They see old friends. Technically, every single day, there's like a thing you're supposed to do, like mothers visit or daughters visit their fathers, or like sons visit their mothers. But generally, for most people, it's just one big, long time to spend with their loved ones. And Chinese New Year ends on the 15th day, which falls on February 15th this year, with the Lantern Festival. And that is the first full moon of the new year. And it just marks the end of this celebratory time. So One of the biggest traditions as part of Chinese New Year with the gathering of the family is the New Year's Eve family reunion dinner. And there are a few different foods that a lot of people will eat because they symbolize different things. So the first thing is noodles, specifically longevity noodles. And that just means the noodles are a bit longer than your average, like lengthwise noodle. And these noodles represent longevity and happiness. When you're eating these, you have to slurp them because if you bite them, you're like cutting short your own longevity. So that's not good. The next thing is a whole fish, and the fish just stands for increased prosperity. There's a saying that means that is 年年有余, which means every year we have fish, and it just represents every year we'll have prosperity, every year we'll have that good fortune. The next thing is dumplings, and the reason dumplings are eaten is because they are shaped in what looks like an old coin of gold or silver. So dumplings represent wealth, and that is why that is something that a lot of families will eat. A lot of families have traditions of making dumplings together, and that's why we're making dumplings today. The next item is miangao, or these glutinous rice cakes. And the reason we eat them is because miangao in Chinese almost sounds like you're going up. And so it symbolizes upward movement in life. So a higher income or position, or just that growth of going upwards. Next thing is tangyuan, which are these round, sweet rice balls. They're a really nice dessert. They're kind of glutinous, and they represent family togetherness just because of the round. It's like the whole circle. It's like the wholeness, the unity of the family. The next item is a chicken, often a steamed chicken with really delicious dipping sauces. And that again represents just family and ancestral blessings, just wholeness of your whole family. So Chinese New Year, the legend is that there was this monster called Mian who would terrorize villages during the winter. And so the people had to find a way to scare the monster away so they could keep living their lives. And so that is why in the days leading up to Chinese New Year, you're cleaning your house to sweep out all the bad spirits, and you're putting up decorations that are red because red is a lucky color, and that's from the fact that the monster is afraid of the color red. One thing you don't want to do is sweep your house during Chinese New Year, because then you're sweeping all the good fortune that you've gathered right out the door. The next thing people do often on New Year's Eve and throughout the 15 days are set off firecrackers and fireworks, and that's because the loud noise scares away the monster. And finally, you'll see dragon dances or lion dances, and that's because the dragon is the hero that saved the villages by also helping scare the monster away for a year until Nian comes back, and then you do it all again. And lion dances are because lions represent good luck and good fortune, and we can never get enough of that. So in addition to the important family reunion dinner that happens on New Year's, there's a few other traditions. So children will often go around asking the adults in their family for red envelopes. Many families also give red envelopes to their elderly members as well. And these red envelopes contain money. The money inside is called ya sui qian, which translates to like suppressing the demon or the evil spirits. So that packet of money is supposed to be good luck. And the kids just love going around asking people for that money. You have to say something when you ask for the money. You have to say 恭喜发财，红包拿来, which directly translates to Good fortune to you. Now give me the red envelope. Something else that is very important traditionally to Chinese New Year is honoring ancestors in the family. So in the days leading up, just like you're cleaning your house, families will often go to like their ancestors' tombs to clean it, to provide offerings, to ask for blessings for before the reunion meal. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Lantern Festival, which is day 15. So between the first day and the 15th day, a lot of it is just more meals, getting and giving the red envelopes to each other, meeting your friends, going out, having fun, going to parades and festivities. And then the biggest festival that kind of ends it all is the Lantern Festival on the 15th day. So like I said earlier, the 15th day, the Lantern Festival falls on the first full moon of the new year, the new lunar year. And so it's the end of Chinese New Year. The Lantern Festival is all about forgiveness, reconciliation, peace, and people will light lanterns. A lot of these lanterns have riddles written on them. And if you solve the riddle, you actually get a little extra good luck for the year. There are parades, again, a lot of lion dances, dragon dances, music, fireworks, and one other thing, like I said earlier, at the reunion dinner, you want to eat tang yuan. Here, once again, you want to eat it. You want to eat the glutinous, the sweet rice balls, because once again, it's a circle, it kind of matches this symbolicness of the full moon and the circle and just that cycle. And the Lantern Festival is also a time to once again celebrate the wholeness and the unity of family and to honor your ancestors. I just want to say here that a lot of these traditional traditions and customs are definitely celebrated throughout China, but it may be like tweaked if people live in Western countries. Some other traditions is that in the past, a lot of families would actually cook a ton in the days leading up to Chinese New Year because for the 15 days, you don't cook. But obviously, with the way everyone is so busy in modern society, many people do not follow that anymore. Okay, so now I want to talk about our dumplings for a little bit. So like I have been emphasizing since the beginning, a dry filling is really, really important. So we're gonna squeeze the moisture out of the vegetables. We cooked off a lot of the liquids earlier, and we just need that dry filling so that first, the filling will stick together to each other, and secondly, so it doesn't like break the dough and have it all explode everywhere, which is definitely not what we want. The second thing is sealed pleats when we're folding. So your pleats don't have to be really pretty or exact, that's completely fine. But the most important part is that the dough is folded and completely sealed. And this is just so that the dumplings won't fall apart while we're cooking. And because we're making shui jiao, which are dumplings that are boiled in water, if there's any gap, the water will like sneak into the dumpling and your dumpling will fall apart, and then you won't be able to eat the whole dumpling. It'll just be all the pieces separated. Finally, storing the dumplings. So if you're making the dumplings and you're not going to eat it all today, or you don't want to eat any right now, that's completely fine. Just store it in like Ziploc bags or containers and put it in the freezer until you want to eat it. And since the pre-made dough that you buy generally is dusted with flour, it should not stick together. But you know, if you want to be extra cautious, you can sprinkle it with a little bit more flour before you store it in the freezer. Okay, so I want to talk really quickly about how to cook dumplings, because something about like a lot of Chinese recipes and a lot of old recipes is that they often don't give exact times or measurements or temperatures. It's always like a dash of this and a sprinkle of that. And same with cooking dumplings. So first we're going to boil the pot of water, and then you're going to place dumplings in. You can do this whether the dumplings are fresh or frozen. If you are going to be cooking the frozen dumplings, you do not need to thaw them, just put them in frozen. And you're going to let that pot of water come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, you're going to add a cup of room temperature water. And by a cup, I don't mean like the exact measurement of a cup, just, a coffee mug or any cup you have lying around. And then you're going to repeat that step again. So you're going to be adding a total of 2 cups in. And then once that comes to a boil again, you can scoop out the dumplings, put it on a plate, and you can serve the dumplings. You can eat it plain, or you can eat it with a dipping sauce. A dipping sauce, you can make it with like soy sauce, with any spices that you want, any sauces, any mix of them. And with cooking dumplings, it's like a bit of a controversy whether you repeat step 2 times or 3 times, and like whether you add 2 more cups of water or 3 more cups of water to the original pot of boiled water. In my family, we only add 2, but I definitely do know people who add 3, and like there have been discussions about it. I don't quite understand the science of why that works, but it just is how you cook the dumplings, and it's really delicious if you do so this way. That is my last slide. Are there any questions before we move on? Okay, so since there are no questions, I don't believe, we can move on. So I'm going to go back and grab our cooked vegetables. Actually, at this point, it would be smart to wash our hands since we're about to be touching all the food just one more time.
I have a question, Allison. The twice boiled dumplings, you boiled. So are they in the water the entire time? Or are you removing them and then reboiling the water and then putting the dumpling back in?
So the dumplings stay in the water the entire time. So you add the cup, let it come to a boil, add another cup, let it come to a boil, and the dumplings stay in there the whole time.
Okay, perfect. And then are we removing the dumplings yet? Are they cooling right now?
So we had the vegetables cooling now, and we're gonna start squeezing the liquid out and working on the filling.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. And so my mom just reminded me an important point with the cooking the dumplings. Before you add the extra cup, make sure all the dumplings are kind of floated up to the surface, and then you add the other cup, and then it floats. So it's like it boils, and once the water boils, the dumplings are floating. So and since we're making vegetable dumplings, it's fine if you don't go through so many processes of boiling it again and again, because obviously we've already cooked our vegetables. Okay, so now that I have this bowl, I am going to, yes, please, Mom. Okay, sorry, just figuring out the camera. So I have another bowl here that I'm going to put the vegetables in once I've squeezed it. So roll up your sleeves, and then I'm just gonna dig in. If you want to wear gloves, that is something you can definitely do. So we're just gonna squeeze the vegetables. And then put the squeezed vegetables in the next bowl and just continue doing so. You can do it little by little. The vegetables are still hot, it might help with gloves. Or if you would like, you can get a strainer and put the vegetables, kind of press the vegetables against the strainer with like a spoon. So I'm almost done, but you guys can take your time. Okay. So now that I have like the drier vegetables in my bowl, I'm gonna wash my hands really quick. Okay, so now to this bowl of vegetables, I am going to grab a spoon so I can mix it all. And then I'm going to add my green onion slash scallion slash chives in. And then I'm going to add my sesame oil. If you don't have sesame oil, you can also use like a fragrant oil or just like your favorite oil. Add my sugar. And then add my soy sauce. And then I'm gonna mix it before I add any salt, just to see if it's up to the flavor or like the flavor profile I like it. Since we're putting this filling inside dough and it's gonna be wrapped around dough, you would probably want the filling to be a little saltier, just so that when you have it in your dough, you don't end up with bland dumplings. And since this is all vegetables, we can just do a quick taste test to check the savory and salt level. I'm gonna grab a little spoon so I can try. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt because I just want my filling to be a little saltier. And so now that my filling's all done, I'm gonna bring it back to my table. And okay, I'm gonna switch cameras. Okay, so now I'm gonna unwrap my dumpling dough. So I just went to my local Asian market and I just bought dumpling wrappers. They are round. And when you like buy them, there's like different types of dumpling wrappers. Sometimes I pick the like Chinese ones just because these are more apt for the boiling that we do. I know sometimes you can find Korean wrappers.
Allison, your camera is not on.
I switched cameras.
The camera is not on, so I can't see anything.
Okay. Okay. Can you see now?
Yes, good.
Okay. So as I was saying, here's my dumpling wrappers. They're round. This would be a nice time to have like a little dish or a little bowl of water just for like sealing it. And then I would grab a smaller spoon to scoop up the filling. So now we're gonna start. You just take one wrapper and I kind of put it in my palm like this. And then I would start with a little bit of filling because it takes a while to get the hang of folding the dumplings. So just a tiny little bit in the middle. And then because I like to just make sure my dumplings are completely sealed, I dip my finger in the water and I just like draw like a semicircle kind of at the edge of the dumpling wrapper so that when I fold it in half, it will seal. And once you fold it in half, I would just press the center to seal the center. Then you're gonna take one side and you're just gonna fold it over itself. And this is where I use the water to help me seal the dough together because the flour is gonna kind of prevent you from. So the one major con of using pre-made dough is that they put a lot of flour, so it makes the sealing process a lot harder. So you just have to squeeze tighter and use a lot of water. If you do happen to make your dough yourself, you would find that it squeezes together a lot easier. And once I finish this dumpling, I will show another one. So the end goal is obviously something that looks a little bit, like a little bit like this with just a little bit of fold. And it's just like this kind of slight bent U shape. So I'm going to do another one. I'll take the wrapper, put just a little bit of filling in the center. Again, don't put too much when you're starting because the folding can be a little complicated. And then dip your hands in water, go all around the dumpling. I'm actually going to go all around the edge because this dough is really hard to fold a little bit. And then you fold it in half so you have a crescent shape and kind of like really pinch the middle so that you have the middle sealed. And then you just kind of fold like one at the outside on top of each other a little bit so that you can form a little pleat. And I do about like 2 pleats per side. You can put 3 pleats per side. You can put 1 pleat per side, however many you would like. The most important part is really making sure that your dumpling edge is completely sealed. Like I said, you don't want your dumplings exploding when you're cooking it. Yeah, that actually, oh my God, your pleats are so beautiful. That looks great, Naz. All right, so I just made another one. And I just kind of line them up on a tray or a plate. I wouldn't put them right next to each other, just a little gap. And then once you have enough, you can cook them or you can put them in the freezer to store for a meal for another time. And so, like I said, earlier, for a lot of families, it's like a family activity. Just everyone gathers around a table to fold, and then you have like the people who are the masters, and then you have like the not so pretty dumplings. But once you boil them and you cook them, they all look pretty much the same. So don't worry if it doesn't look like origami right now. And as you get more comfortable and more confident with folding, you can start to try to like add more and more filling to see how much filling you can stuff in to a dumpling. My mom told me when she used to make these with her friends, they would have like competitions on how much stuffing you could stuff in a dumpling. And so the thing with the vegetable filling is, or honestly, any kind of filling for dumplings, is that, you know, you can really cultivate it to your tastes. So if you have other leafy vegetables that you like more, the next time you make it, you can use those. If you don't love carrots, you can use more cabbage. And then if you want to add more protein, I've seen recipes that add like crumpled tofu in, or like eggs. Really just customize the dumpling to however you would like it to be. And the way I fold my dumplings are not the only way to pleat them. I fold them the way my mom taught me to, but I know there are definitely people who fold them differently. And across China, from like different regions, dumplings will look different because people fold it differently. So this is definitely something you can kind of adapt with your own style on like, this is your way of folding and your pleats, and everyone can make them just a little bit different because these are handmade, and handmade things don't always look the same. Does anyone have any questions about folding or anything else?
Hi, Allison. We have a question. The dumpling wrappers that we got last night at the Asian market, I think we accidentally got some that are square in shape instead of the round. Do you have any tips of how to fold those?
Yeah, so if it's square, I would do like, when you fold it in half, I would do like corner to corner. So it's almost like a diamond and a triangle. And then once you get there, you can like almost treat it like a half circle and make little pleats and like squish the dough together. I don't know if that helps a little. And again, just like the round wrappers, I would like line the edges with water just to help kind of stick it all together.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I usually buy bags and bags of frozen dumplings, and I had no idea so easy to make.
Yeah, I'll be honest, my family doesn't make them homemade very often either. We like to buy the frozen ones because, they're easy, but they're time consuming. So, I'm going to pause for a moment and pull up the slide again about how to cook them if you guys just want to see it one more time. And then once again, we're storing it. If you don't want to eat them right now, you can put them in a Ziploc bag or in a plastic box and store them in the freezer until you do want to eat them. Here is the instructions for cooking them again, because obviously we're not going to stay on Zoom and until we all finish folding. That would take forever. So we will all just continue folding on our own. And if you want to enjoy them tonight, here are the cooking instructions again. Like I said earlier, briefly, my mom wanted me to make sure I told you guys that since these dumplings are made with vegetables and our filling is completely cooked, unlike if we were making meat dumplings, the filling would be still raw. You do not have to go through the whole procedure of putting the water, a cup of regular room temperature water in again and again. Just make sure that the dumplings come to a float after you put them in so that the dough is cooked, and then you can enjoy them.
Alison, my name is
Yeah.
Pat, and I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a bamboo steamer. Can I use it?
Yeah, so you can definitely steam your dumplings. When you steam it, it will actually hold its shape and you'll still see the pleats after you steam it. I'm not 100% confident for how long you should steam them, but again, since this filling is vegetarian, as long as the dough is completely cooked through, you can steam them.
Okay.
And they are edible.
Alison?
Yes.
When we buy the dumplings from the store, the frozen ones, we usually air fry them. Have you tried these dumplings to air fry the dumplings?
So I've actually never personally air fried fresh dumplings, but I feel like, since the frozen ones work and it should work, I would maybe spray it with a little bit of oil before you pop it into the air fryer. And then I would start with a shorter amount of time and add as you go. Again, I don't know the time, but you don't want it to be so crispy that it becomes hard and you can't chew it. That would not be good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Are there any other questions?
Are we making the whole process? Are we boiling the pot of water and putting the dumplings, or are we just making the dumplings and it's up to our discretion whether we would like to have it today or later?
So we're actually going to end soon, and then you guys can choose if you want to eat it today or eat it later. Yeah. Any other questions?
Alison, are you going to show us how to boil the dumplings?
I was not going to because it's pretty simple. I can put up the instructions again, but basically you just boil the water, put the dumplings in, wait for the dumplings to kind of like float up a little bit, and then you can take them out. It's kind of like cooking noodles in that since our filling is vegetarian and there's no meat in it and the filling's already all been cooked, once the dough wrapper itself is cooked through, then you can eat them.
Alison, but the water would be boiling, right? So why we
Yes.
have to add more water if the water is already boiling?
So I don't completely understand the science behind it. It's something we do, especially when the filling is meat. I think it's to really just like ensure that the meat is completely cooked through. It's just like something that's kind of, I've been told is the proper way to cook dumplings, especially dumplings with a meat filling. But since the filling is vegetarian, you like don't have to do that if you're, you know, just eager to taste. Once the dumplings float up, that should mean that the dough's about cooked. And then again, you can always cut one open to like test it before you take it all out to cook.
Thank you very much.
I have another
No
question.
problem. Yeah.
If I'm planning to make a chicken dumpling or any other meat dumpling, so do I cook the
Yes.
meat? By
No.
make everything with the minced meat and the same process?
So you would use the raw meat, obviously thawed, and then you can put vegetables in it, cooked or raw. If you do use raw vegetables, I would salt the vegetables first and then let it sit for a while so the salt can draw out all the liquid. Then, you know, like drain the raw vegetables and add it to your, add all your like soy sauce and salt or whatever flavorings you want. And then you'll fold the meat in raw, which is why for cooking dumplings, we often have all those like times where we add more water, because it's just to really ensure that the dumpling filling has been completely cooked.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Are there any more questions? Okay, so if there are not any more questions, I think we can probably end the Zoom soon. Happy folding, happy cooking, happy eating, whenever that may be. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.